Wearing a paint-stained hoodie and carrying his daughter's pink backpack, Devin Cross looked completely out of place in wealthy Westlake Hills. At 11:15 a.m., he walked into the Copper Whisk just to buy a $14.50 meal for his daughter. But manager Julian Montgomery, wearing a pricey silk shirt, shortchanged Devin $50 and threw the rest on the floor, saying, "Pick it up." Julian felt proud, with powerful backing, never guessing Devin was the new chairman, who bought the chain for $28 million just 48 hours ago. Devin wanted to quietly check his staff's behavior before making any big changes. Will company cover-ups stop Devin, and how will Julian pay when his fancy mask is ripped off? Let's go back 3 hours, back to when the morning was still quiet and simple. Devin Cross lived in a small wooden house on the edge of Austin. It was not fancy, it was not big, but it was full of love. His daughter Lily was 6 years old. She had 2 front teeth missing. She laughed at everything. She was the center of Devin's whole world. Devin's wife died 4 years ago. Breast cancer took her fast. It left behind a hospital bill of $142,350. Her name was Renee. She used to hum while she cooked breakfast. She always burned the toast a little, on purpose, because Devin liked it that way. Devin still kept her old apron hanging on a hook in the kitchen. He never moved it. He never could. Devin worked 18 hours a day for 2 straight years. He paid off every single dollar. He never once complained. He sold his second food truck to help cover the bills. He picked up night shifts at a warehouse for a while, just to close the gap faster. Through all of it, he made sure Lily never noticed the struggle. She only remembered pancakes on Sunday mornings and bedtime stories read twice in a row. That morning, Devin and Lily painted little wooden birdhouses at her school. Willow Creek Elementary let parents join craft day once a month. Blue paint covered Devin's old gray hoodie. Lily's hands were covered in yellow and pink. The classroom smelled like wet paint and apple juice. A small fan buzzed in the corner, drying the birdhouses one by one. Other parents in the room wore gym clothes or business casual. Nobody there knew Devin owned a company worth hundreds of millions. He liked it that way. At craft day, he was just Lily's dad. Nothing more, nothing less. "Dad, don't forget my sandwich," Lily said, tugging his sleeve. "The one from the place, with the Copper Whisk sign. I want the chicken one." "The one with extra pickles?" Devin asked, raising an eyebrow. Lily nodded so hard her pigtails bounced. Extra pickles." Devin smiled and promised her. He always kept his promises to Lily. It was a small thing, a sandwich for a 6-year-old. But to Devin, small promises mattered the most. They were the glue that held a family together after loss. His truck was a 2008 Ford F-150. Rust crawled along the wheel wells. The engine coughed twice before it started. Nobody looking at that truck or that hoodie would guess the truth about Devin Cross. He liked it that way. Being invisible let him see the world clearly, without anyone changing how they acted around him. Devin was the founder and chairman of Apex Food Group. He built it, from one food truck, into a company worth hundreds of millions. Just 2 days ago, he signed a deal. He bought the Copper Whisk, all 18 locations, for $28 million. Nobody at the restaurant chain knew his face yet. That was about to change. At 8:30 that morning, an email landed in Devin's private inbox. It came from a temporary Proton Mail address. No name attached. The email talked about the Westlake Hills location. It claimed the manager there mistreated staff. It claimed he stole tips. It claimed he played favorites based on skin color. The email included 3 short lines from a former server, quoted anonymously. One line stuck in Devin's mind. It said staff called Julian the Velvet Wall, polite on the surface, cold underneath. Devin read it twice. His stomach tightened. He thought about all the people who worked long shifts on their feet, carrying heavy trays, smiling through tired legs. He built his whole company thinking about people just like that. If someone was hurting his employees, hiding behind good numbers and a nice smile, Devin needed to know. Numbers on a spreadsheet could never show the whole truth. He pulled up the last report from Olivia Thorne, the regional operations director. Her report called the manager, Julian Montgomery, the finest leader of the decade. Something did not add up. Devin trusted numbers. But numbers can lie when people want them to. He decided right then. He would go see for himself. No warning. No suit. No name tag. Just Devin, in his painting clothes, walking in like any other customer. His phone rang at 9:15. It was Marcus, his assistant of 6 years. "Boss, your calendar is packed today," Marcus said. "Let HR handle the complaint. Going there yourself is risky." "What if HR just reads the same clean reports Olivia sends every month?" Devin asked. "They won't see anything wrong." Marcus sighed on the other end of the line. "Fair point. But if someone recognizes you, it could look bad for the company." Reporters love a story about a rich man playing dress up. "I'm not playing dress up," Devin said quietly. "This is just my hoodie." Devin looked at the clock. He had 30 minutes before he had to pick up Lily. He almost said yes to Marcus. He almost let it go. Then he remembered something. Long ago, at 19, he bussed tables at a diner. A rich customer once called him boy and snapped fingers at him like he was a dog. Devin never forgot that feeling. It burned in him for years. It was part of why he built his own company. "I have to see it myself, Marcus," Devin said. "I'll be quick." He hung up and drove toward Westlake Hills. The Copper Whisk sat on a hill covered in oak trees. Valet workers in black vests waited outside. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Devin parked his rusty truck between a Tesla and a Range Rover. He felt eyes on him already. A valet worker glanced at the truck, then at Devin, and did not offer to park it for him. Devin did not mind. He parked it himself, right where he wanted it. He walked through the front door. Soft jazz music played. The smell of grilled steak filled the air. Heavy wooden beams stretched across the ceiling. Copper pots hung along one wall, polished until they gleamed under warm lighting. The floor was cold gray marble, slick under his worn sneakers. A man near the host's stand was wiping down a large glass window. He was older, maybe close to 60. His name tag read Samuel. Samuel looked up and smiled. It was a real smile, warm and easy. "Morning, friend," Samuel said quietly. "Just so you know, the manager's in a mood today. Watch yourself, all right?" Devin nodded and thanked him. That small kindness meant more than Samuel could know. Something about Samuel felt steady, like a rock in a fast river. Devin walked toward the counter, carrying that steadiness with him. At exactly 11:15, Devin reached the register. He asked for one chicken sandwich meal, to go. The total came to $14.50. He pulled a crisp $100 bill from his old leather wallet. It was the only bill he had on him. A tall man stepped in front of the cashier before she could take the money. His silk shirt was pressed perfectly. His shoes clicked sharp against the tile. This was Julian Montgomery. For years running this location. Handsome in a practiced, polished way. Cologne so strong it reached Devin from 3 feet away. Julian believed deeply in rules. Not fairness, just rules, and only the ones that protected people like him. He grew up watching his father get turned away from country clubs for having the wrong last name. Julian swore he would never feel small again, so he built a different kind of power. He learned which fork to use, which watch to wear, which words made rich guests feel comfortable. Somewhere along the way, that careful climb turned into cruelty. Julian started believing that keeping standards meant keeping certain people out. He told himself he was protecting the restaurant's reputation. In truth, he was just protecting his own fragile pride. Julian snatched the $100 bill from Devin's hand without asking. He held it up to the light. He ran a counterfeit pen across it, hard and fast. The pen showed nothing wrong. The bill was real. Anyone could see that, but Julian smiled a thin, cold smile anyway. "This kind of fake is getting clever," Julian announced, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "Look at the truck this man drove up in. No way a guy in that truck carries a clean 100 like this." Samuel, standing nearby, spoke up gently. "Sir, that bill looks completely normal to me." Julian spun toward him. "Say one more word, Samuel, and you can clock out for good." Samuel closed his mouth. His hands trembled slightly at his sides. Devin stayed calm. He watched Julian's face carefully, memorizing every twitch of contempt. Julian finally handed back change. He counted out only $35.50, not the full $85.50 owed. "There's a mistake," Devin said softly. "You owe me $50 more." Julian's jaw tightened. A vein pulsed near his temple. "Sir, I already gave you correct change," Julian said, his voice dripping. with false patience, like he was speaking to a small child. You gave me $35.50, Devin said calmly. The total owed was $85.50. That's a $50 difference. Julian's eyes narrowed. Guests nearby had stopped pretending not to watch. He waved two large security guards over. Their names, Devin would later learn, were Leo and Frank. This man's backpack, Julian said, pointing at Lily's pink backpack on Devin's shoulder. Check it. I bet he's been stealing food from our kitchen. Guests at nearby tables turned to stare. Phones came out. Whispers spread across the dining room like smoke. An older woman near the window pulled her purse closer, as if the trouble might spread to her table next. A young couple exchanged an awkward, uncertain glance. One man in a golf polo muttered to his wife, just loud enough to carry. Some people just don't belong in places like this. His wife shushed him, but she did not disagree. Nobody at that table said a single word in Devin's defense. Devin felt his pulse rise, but his voice stayed level. There's nothing in this bag except my daughter's crayons. Julian ignored him completely. He took the crumpled small bills and a fistful of loose coins from the register drawer. He rolled them into a tight, messy ball. Then he threw the money down onto the greasy tile floor. The coins scattered with a sharp, ringing sound. A few rolled under the nearest table and spun in slow, shrinking circles before falling flat. Pick it up, Julian said, his voice like ice. Poor single dad. Consider it charity for your daughter's milk money. The whole restaurant went silent. Even the soft jazz music seemed to fade into the background. Devin looked down at the money on the floor, then back up at Julian. He did not move to pick anything up. A small muscle in his jaw tightened. That was the only sign of what he felt inside. Samuel could not stand it any longer. He knelt down, trying to gather the coins for Devin. Julian kicked Samuel's hand away hard. Coins scattered and rolled under nearby tables. Something inside Devin went very still. Not angry still. Focused still. Like a man who has finally seen enough. He did not shout. He did not curse. He simply reached into his back pocket and pulled out his phone. He dialed a number from memory. It rang once, twice. Olivia, Devin said, his voice flat and quiet. I'm at the West Lake Hills location. Come here right now. Julian burst out laughing, throwing his head back dramatically. Oh, big man's calling for backup? Adorable. You have 10 minutes, Devin continued, into the phone, ignoring Julian completely. After that, I cancel the entire $28 million deal. And you're finished here, Olivia. He hung up, without waiting for a reply. Julian's laughter faltered for half a second, then returned even louder. Nice try. Nobody cancels $28 million over a sandwich. Devin said nothing more. He simply stood there, steady as stone, while chaos buzzed quietly around him. Julian, growing impatient, snapped his fingers at Leo and Frank. Get him out of here. He's scaring off real customers. The guard stepped forward and grabbed Devin's arms. Samuel jumped between them, shielding Devin with his own body. Leave him alone, Samuel said, his voice shaking but firm. Frank shoved Samuel backward. The older man stumbled and nearly fell against a table. Devin caught Samuel's elbow just in time, steadying him. Easy, Devin whispered. You won't be mopping these floors much longer. Samuel looked confused but said nothing. He simply nodded, trusting this strange calm stranger in a paint-stained hoodie. Nobody in the dining room dared speak. Forks stopped clinking against plates. Even the air conditioner seemed to hum louder in the silence. A woman 2 tables away lowered her phone slightly, still recording, her mouth hanging open. Minutes crawled by like hours. Julian checked his gold watch twice, tapping his foot against the marble floor. The air conditioner hummed steadily above the room. Ice clinked softly in someone's forgotten water glass. A waiter froze halfway to a table, unsure whether to keep moving. Devin stood near the register, his daughter's pink backpack still resting on his shoulder. He did not check his phone. He did not pace. He simply waited. Samuel stayed close by, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the front doors. He seemed to sense that something enormous was about to happen. A busboy peeked out from the kitchen doorway, whispering to another cook. Word of the strange standoff was already spreading through the back of the house. Then, at exactly 9 minutes and 40 seconds, the front doors flew open. Olivia Thorne rushed in, one heel broken, her blazer wrinkled, from running across the parking lot. Her breath came in short gasps. She had been in a meeting 3 miles away when the call came through. She left her coffee sitting on the table, still steaming, and ran straight to her car. The whole drive over, her mind raced through every report she had ever written about Julian Montgomery. Every glowing review now felt like a mistake she could not undo. Her eyes swept the room and landed on Devon. She froze completely. Then, without a single second of hesitation, she bent forward at the waist, bowing almost 90 degrees. "Chairman Cross," Olivia said, her voice cracking with panic. "I am so deeply sorry for this delay. Please forgive us." The words hit the room like a thunderclap. Forks froze in midair. Someone dropped a glass, and it shattered, unnoticed. Julian's smile drained from his face in an instant. His skin turned pale, almost gray. His hands, moments ago so confident, now hung stiff at his sides. Sweat began to bead along his hairline, right where his gelled hair met his skin. "Chairman Cross," Julian repeated, the words barely making it out of his throat. He looked down at the hoodie, the rusty truck keys clipped to Devon's belt loop, the pink backpack. None of it matched the name Olivia had just used. Yet somehow, it all fit perfectly. Devon calmly unzipped his daughter's pink backpack. Inside, wrapped in a plastic folder, sat the signed acquisition papers. $28 million, in bold black ink, with his own signature at the bottom. He held the papers up so the whole restaurant could see them clearly. "I bought this restaurant and 17 others 48 hours ago," Devon said, his voice still quiet, still steady. "I wanted to see how my new staff treats regular people. People who don't look rich." Julian's mouth opened, but nothing came out. His hands, once so confident, now hung limp at his sides. You threw money at my feet," Devon continued, "in front of my daughter's backpack, in front of this whole room. You called me a poor single dad like it was an insult." "Sir, I didn't know," Julian stammered, his voice thin and shaking. "If I had known who you were, I never would have." "That's exactly the problem," Devon said, cutting him off gently. "You shouldn't need to know who I am to treat me with respect." Olivia, still bowing slightly, tried to speak. "Chairman Cross, I take full responsibility for not catching this pattern of behavior sooner." Devon turned to her, his eyes calm, but unmistakably firm. "You praised him as your best manager. You ignored every complaint from your own staff. You're both finished here." Julian's legs seemed to give out slightly. He grabbed the edge of the counter to steady himself. "Please," Julian whispered. "This job, this restaurant, it's everything I have." Devon looked at him for a long moment, feeling something between anger and pity settle in his chest. "Security will collect your access badge," Devon said. "The company car goes back today too. Someone from HR will call you this afternoon." 2 other staff members quietly stepped forward to reclaim the keys to Julian's company-issued Mercedes, parked out front, with the engine still warm. Julian stood frozen, watching his polished world crumble in front of dozens of witnesses and several raised phones. Devon then turned toward Samuel, who still stood a few feet away, coins scattered near his shoes. "Samuel, right?" Devon asked gently. "Yes, sir," Samuel answered, straightening his back out of old habit. "You were the only person in this entire building who treated me like a human being today," Devon said. "That matters more than you know." Samuel's eyes grew wet, though he tried hard to blink it away. "I have a grandson," Samuel said quietly. "He's got bad asthma. I work extra shifts just to help pay for his medicine." Devon nodded slowly, taking that in. "Not anymore," Devon said. "Starting today, you're the new general manager of this location. Salary of $115,000 a year, full medical coverage for your whole family." Samuel's knees nearly buckled. Tears finally broke free and rolled down his weathered cheeks. "Sir, I don't know what to say," Samuel managed, his voice thick with emotion. "Say you'll run this place the way you already treat people," Devon replied. "Like they matter. That's the only training you need." Olivia stepped forward, still trying to salvage something from the wreckage. "Chairman Cross, about the acquisition deal, is it still?" "The deal stands," Devon said. "The restaurants stay open. The good staff keep their jobs. Only the people who forgot how to be decent are leaving today. A quiet murmur of relief spread through the kitchen staff, who had gathered near the doorway to watch everything unfold. Devin glanced down at the pile of coins still scattered across the greasy tile floor. Julian's earlier words echoed cruelly in the silence. He looked directly at Julian one final time. "You can pick that up yourself now," Devin said, his voice carrying no anger, only quiet finality. "You'll need bus fare to get home." Julian's face burned red, with humiliation as he slowly bent down, gathering the coins one by one under the watching eyes of the entire restaurant. Nobody moved to help him this time. Devin checked his watch. It read 11:38 a.m. He still had time to pick up Lily before school ended. He turned to Samuel one more time before heading for the door. "Get some rest tonight," Devin said. "Tomorrow, we start fixing this place properly, together." Samuel nodded, wiping his eyes with the back of his sleeve, a small smile breaking through his tears. "Sir, can I ask you something?" Samuel said, his voice still a little shaky. "Of course," Devin replied. "Why did you really come in here dressed like this?" Samuel asked. "You could have sent someone else." Devin thought about it for a moment before answering. "Because numbers on a report can't show you how someone treats a stranger. Only walking through the door can show you that." Samuel nodded slowly, letting the words settle. "Well, I'm glad you walked through this one." "So am I," Devin said, offering a small, tired smile. He shook Samuel's hand firmly. It was the kind of handshake shared between two men who understood each other without needing many words. Devin walked out, through the same doors he had entered less than 30 minutes earlier. The valet workers, unsure of what had just happened inside, watched him climb back into his rusty old truck. The engine coughed twice again before finally starting. Devin sat for a moment behind the wheel, hands resting on the cracked steering wheel. His heart was still pounding, though his face had stayed calm the entire time inside. He thought about how close he came to letting Marcus talk him out of coming. He thought about how many other Samuels might be out there, working quietly, waiting for someone to finally notice. As Devin pulled out of the parking lot, he passed Julian standing alone near the curb. Julian was counting coins into his palm. He was waiting for a bus that would take nearly an hour to arrive. Devin did not look back. He had somewhere more important to be. He drove straight to Willow Creek Elementary, arriving at exactly 11:45 a.m., just as the morning bell rang. Lily came running out the front doors, her backpack bouncing, paint still faintly visible on her small fingers. "Dad, did you get my sandwich?" she asked, breathless with excitement. Devin held up the warm paper bag, the chicken sandwich still fresh inside. "Never broke a promise, yet," he said, smiling as she climbed into the truck. As they drove home, Lily chattered happily about her birdhouse project, completely unaware of everything her father had just done. Devin glanced at her in the rearview mirror, his heart full despite the tension still buzzing beneath his calm exterior. That evening, after tucking Lily into bed and reading her favorite story twice, Devin sat alone in his small home office. He thought about Renee and what she would have said about the whole thing. She always believed people showed their true character when they thought nothing was at stake. Devin picked up his phone and called his executive team together for an emergency meeting the next morning at headquarters. He explained everything that happened at the Copper Whisk, detail by detail, without leaving anything out. "This can't be an isolated incident," Devin told his team. "If it happened there, in broad daylight, it's likely happening elsewhere too." He ordered a full review of every location in the chain. Anonymous surveys went out to every single employee within the week. The survey asked simple questions. Do you feel respected at work? Have you seen a manager treat a customer unfairly? Would you report it if you saw abuse of power? Devin also set up a private hotline, staffed by someone outside the normal management chain. Employees could call any time, day or night, without fear of losing their jobs. Complaints poured in from 3 other locations. 2 other managers were let go within the month, both for similar patterns of disrespect toward customers and staff. One manager in Dallas had been forcing servers to work through unpaid breaks. Another in Houston mocked a customer's accent in front of other diners. Both patterns had hidden in plain sight for years. Word spread quickly through the company. Employees who once stayed silent out of fear began speaking up, trusting that someone was finally listening. Devin read every single report personally. He believed that real change started at the top, not buried in a policy folder nobody opened. Olivia Thorne never got another chance at Apex Food Group. Her years of ignoring warning signs cost her the career she had spent over a decade building. She later admitted, in a short exit interview, that she always felt uneasy about Julian's methods. She just never wanted to be the one to challenge his glowing sales numbers. Devin used her mistake as a lesson for every regional manager in the company. Good numbers, he reminded them, never excuse bad behavior toward people. Samuel settled into his new role faster than anyone expected. He remembered every regular customer's name, every small preference, every birthday. He treated the dishwashers and the servers the same way he treated the wealthiest guests. Kindness, to Samuel, never came with conditions attached. He started a simple habit. Every new hire spent their first shift shadowing him. They learned not just the menu, but the way he greeted every single person who walked through the door. He taught them to make eye contact with every guest, no matter how they were dressed. He taught them to say thank you like they meant it every single time. Some new hires thought it felt strange at first. Within a week, most of them understood exactly why it mattered so much to Samuel. Within 3 months, customer satisfaction scores at the West Lake Hills location rose higher than any other restaurant in the entire chain. Staff turnover dropped sharply too. People wanted to work somewhere that finally felt safe. Samuel's grandson started a new asthma treatment plan, fully covered under the company's expanded health benefits. His breathing improved within weeks, and he stopped missing so many days of school. Samuel kept a photo of his grandson taped inside the office door, right where he could see it every single morning before his shift began. Devin visited the restaurant again about 6 weeks later, this time not in disguise. He wore a simple button-down shirt, nothing flashy, nothing that screamed wealth or power. Lily came along, that day too, holding a small drawing she had made for Samuel. It showed 2 stick figures shaking hands under a bright yellow sun. The dining room looked different now, warmer, somehow, though nothing about the furniture had changed. Staff greeted guests by name. Laughter drifted easily between tables. Samuel greeted him at the door with a warm handshake and an even warmer smile. "Table for one, Chairman Cross?" Samuel asked, grinning. "Just Devin is fine," Devin replied, laughing softly. "And yes, a table would be great." As Devin sat down, he noticed something new on the wall near the entrance. A small framed sign, simple and handwritten. It read, "Every guest deserves respect, no matter what they wear or what they drive." Samuel had put it up himself, a quiet reminder for every new hire who walked through those doors. As for Julian Montgomery, word around Austin's restaurant circles traveled fast. His reputation, once built entirely on charm and appearance, crumbled within weeks. The video from that morning had already spread online. Strangers he had never met left comments calling him cruel, calling him arrogant, calling him worse. He deleted his social media accounts one by one. It did not matter. Screenshots had already traveled far beyond his control. No other high-end restaurant wanted to hire a manager fired for public cruelty, caught on multiple phones, and shared widely online. Julian sold his silk shirts to a consignment shop for a fraction of what he paid. He moved out of his downtown apartment into a smaller place near the highway. He eventually found work at a small diner on the edge of town. It was far from the marble floors and silk shirts he once loved so much. The diner smelled like coffee and bacon grease, nothing like the steak and jazz music he was used to. His new boss wore a stained apron and called every customer honey or sweetheart. Ironically, his new manager there reminded him constantly about treating every single customer with basic decency, regardless of how they looked. At first, Julian resented the lesson. Slowly, working long shifts among people who had little themselves, something in him began to shift. He started noticing things he never saw before. The trucker who left a generous tip despite counting his own coins for gas. The tired nurse who always said please and thank you after a 12-hour shift. For the first time in years, Julian began treating every customer the same way, regardless of what they wore or what they drove. Julian never forgot the sound of those coins hitting the tile floor or the silence that followed. It stayed with him, a permanent lesson learned the hardest way possible. Months later, a local news outlet ran a story about the incident, though names were changed to protect privacy. The story focused on something bigger than one bad manager. It focused on the quiet dignity of working people like Samuel and the deeper meaning behind Devin's simple hoodie and rusty old truck. The story spread to other cities. Other restaurant owners began quietly reviewing their own policies, worried about what their own staff might be doing when nobody important was watching. A culinary school in Austin invited Devin to speak to graduating students. He almost said no. Public speaking never came naturally to him, but he thought about Samuel, about the coins on the floor, about every worker who ever felt small in front of someone with more money. So he said yes. Standing in front of 200 young cooks and servers, Devin kept his speech short and simple. Treat every person the same, he told them. The person paying with a $100 bill and the person counting out coins deserve the exact same respect. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Then the applause started, slow at first, then loud and steady. Afterward, a young server came up and shook his hand. She said the speech made her feel proud of her job for the first time in years. Devin told her that pride was exactly the point. Devin never sought that kind of attention. He preferred his quiet life, with Lily, painting birdhouses and keeping small promises about chicken sandwiches. Still, he understood now that his story carried weight beyond his own family. It reminded strangers to look twice before judging someone by their clothes or their car. But the lesson from that day at the Copper Whisk spread far beyond Austin, reminding people everywhere that true worth never depends on appearances. Real character shows itself fully in ordinary moments. It shows itself especially when someone believes nobody important is watching them at all. A year later, Lily turned 7. Devin threw her a small backyard party with balloons and a homemade cake, slightly lopsided but covered in her favorite pink frosting. Samuel came to the party too, bringing his grandson along. The two boys chased each other around the yard, while the adults talked quietly by the grill. Samuel's grandson breathed easy now, running and laughing, without stopping to catch his breath. His inhaler stayed tucked in his backpack, barely needed anymore. Marcus showed up too, bringing a ridiculous inflatable dinosaur that took up half the yard. Even Devin's old football coach from high school stopped by with a card. At one point, Lily tugged on Devin's sleeve and pointed at Samuel. "Dad, is that your work friend?" Devin smiled, watching Samuel laugh at something Lily's grandmother had said. "He's more than a work friend, baby. He's family now." Devin cross-walked into that restaurant as an unknown man in a paint-stained hoodie. He walked out having changed an entire company for the better. He never planned to become a symbol of anything. He only wanted to keep a promise to his daughter and see the truth for himself. Sometimes, that is exactly how the biggest changes begin. Not with speeches or headlines, but with one quiet person refusing to look away. And somewhere in West Lake Hills, a small handwritten sign still hangs by the door. It reminds everyone who enters that respect costs nothing, yet it is worth everything.